So how involved do insurance companies get with property maintenance and upkeep? We're joined on the KCBS Ring Central Newsline by Cary White with Ideate Insurance Solutions Incorporated. Mr. White, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Susan.
Let's go back even before maintenance and upkeep. When a building is going up, what role do insurers play at that point? Do they ever send out their own inspectors to see how a building is being put together?
Well, first and foremost, Susan, I want to mention that this is a terrible tragedy for the young people who died and their families and the young people who are injured. But I think there's also two additional components that we're not spending enough time talking about, and that's the community cost to communities like Berkeley and their confidence in building additional buildings, and ultimately all of our costs in the entire Bay Area for affordable housing. And neither of those two things are something that can be insured. And so, we can rely on some insurance companies to inspect certain properties, and really what they're doing is really kind of trying to prevent claims from happening in the end. But ultimately, I think all of us should be really kind of carefully considering whether or not the role of inspections for these projects in terms of the plans, during construction and even post-construction.
Yeah, I mean, it's challenging, right? Because for the insurer, just to take the obvious human tragedy out of it, if you could in a case like this, get down to the dollars and cents. The owner of the building or the insurer of the owner of the building has a financial interest, right, in keeping the place from going wrong. The people who live there have an interest in having a place to live, but everybody else, those in the community at large, may or may not have much of a skin in the game, or they may not feel they do.
Right, well, and honestly, this is going to have an adverse impact on affordable housing. I mean, people are going to be very, very concerned, and maybe it's going to drive the price of housing up, and those things aren't insurable. So, really going back to this, I think a lot of people are reticent. There are some people talking about getting the government involved in doing inspections during construction, and I'm not certain that's really the place to go. There's a lot of resources to do third-party inspections. They're very, very qualified people, and honestly, they don't have to be expensive.
I know with auto insurance, I'm going to be paying more insurance for a sports car than I might pay for another type of car. Do insurers ever look at the history of a particular construction group to see what their safety history has been when they determine insurance?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, the insurance impact of this is going to be very broad. I would say that the building owners are going to be involved, the building managers are going to be involved, the original contractors, the original subcontractor, and maybe even the design professionals, although early indications so far have been maybe the design professionals weren't at fault. But that's all going to be something sorted out later. And honestly, finding fault is an important process of the healing of the people who were hurt. But finding fault is not going to help the city of Berkeley or the entire Bay Area and affordable housing. So honestly, I think you were on the right track talking about inspections. And the question is, does the insurance company play a role in that? And certainly, people who do inspect their property or have their property carefully inspected ostensibly should spend less money on insurance costs. This is something we've learned a lot by doing a lot of multifamily housing, and particularly in the condominium side. But apartment builders haven't been held to the same standards as maybe condominium builders have. And that might be okay because of the nature of the claims, but maybe we should be carefully looking at that again and maybe expanding what apartment builders do in terms of inspections. And like I said, there's a ton of terrific, very highly qualified resources out there that don't have to be expensive and that can actually prevent the uninsurable aspects of some tragedy like this.
Appreciate your time this morning. Cary White with Ideate Insurance Solutions Incorporated.